So you have spent years learning your craft and refining your cinematography and camera operating on stills lenses with autofocus and small focus throws. You are finally ready to step up to the big leagues and buy some Cine glass. But which type should you invest in? Cine primes or a set of Cine zooms? Today we're going to go over the advantages and disadvantages of both of these and which type of glass is right for you. The stills versus prime debate is as old as photography itself. But what you get when you step up to Cine zooms and Cine primes is that the differences are magnified. So it's critical that you get the right type of glass for the projects that you want to be shooting and the result that you want to get. Let's look at zooms first. We're going to be looking at the Sigma 18 to 35 T2 and the Sigma 50 to 100 T2. Both of these are 35mm or APS-C sensor lenses, and they're available in PL, EF, Sony. We're going to be comparing them to the Sigma Cine primes. The Sigma Cine primes are T15. For the middle range, that's from the 20mm to the 85mm. And then on the extremes, on the 14mm and the 135mm are T2. So even the slowest Cine prime is a stop faster than the lens. Before we get into specificity, generally zooms are going to be slower, they are going to be heavier, and they are going to be more expensive. That said, they are much more versatile and quicker to work with. If you want to go from say a 20mm to a 50mm on primes, it may take as long as 3 or 4 minutes, depending on how much equipment you have attached to the lenses, whether or not there's a remote follow focus, whether or not you have a matte box that you have to disengage somehow, how far away the lens kit is from the camera, what the conditions are in, and more than just the time you lose momentum shooting. Because as soon as you break people's concentration and give them a couple minutes to collect themselves, often it takes as long again to get back into the swing of things. And so you lose that first or even second take while people get back up to speed. With a zoom, it is simply a case of twisting the barrel. It takes less than a second. You don't have to recalibrate the lens. You don't have to reconnect all the accessories. You can literally go from your close-up to your wide or vice versa without the actors even aware that you've changed. This speed is why a lot of TV shows, most music videos, and almost all of broadcast is shot on zooms. It is just so much quicker to change from one lens length to another. And if you're working fast and getting a lot of shots like you are in a music video or in an action sequence, the slight decrease in quality and sharpness and increase in price of a zoom is negligible. You're also traveling with a lot less stuff when you travel with zooms. You have the zoom on your camera, and then you have the zoom in your bag or the lens case, and it's just 2 lenses to swap between. When you travel with primes, if you have a set of 5 Cine primes, which is pretty typical, maybe as many as 7, you have a whole nother case, and you're carrying around, almost $20,000 worth of metal and glass that's going to weigh more than your camera. That has to be kept dry, that has to be kept near camera, but not too close to camera. You'll often see shows like Game of Thrones or other high-quality premium cable TV shows shot with zooms. And that's because when you have multiple cameras, you need the cameras to be not getting in each other's way. You need them to be far from talents. What they call V coverage, which is a master in the middle, and then 2 matching singles on your characters. And you want all 3 of these cameras to be on some kind of crane or dolly. You're going to want to shoot on a pretty long lens so that you can be far away and not get the cameras in each other's shots. If you've laid dolly track or you have the camera high up on some kind of crane or ladder, you're not easily able to move in for another shot or move around to capture the actors as they move. So it's much easier to have a zoom and be able to reframe very quickly and easily in response to what the actors are doing rather than call for another lens and hold up all of those 3 cameras because you can no longer quite get the talent in shot. So on any shoot where you're shooting multiple cameras and you have a lot of coverage at the same time, you want all of the actions to match, then you're definitely going to go with zooms the zooms will all match each other. Once you start intercutting between zooms and primes, even though in Sigma's case, the coatings and the elements of the lenses are very similar, on a zoom, the light is still traveling through many more elements to get to the sensor, and so is going to have a different look to it. Aesthetically, some people prefer the zoom look because it softens the digital image. It gets rid of imperfections and age lines in skin. Now let's look at prime lenses. For a long time, the prime lens look, that very shallow depth of field, that very sharp, beautiful finish, went hand in hand with cinema. It's what movies were shot on as opposed to TV, which use zooms. You can get much shallower depth of field because they are both full frame and a full stop faster than the Cine zooms. So if you want that absolutely ridiculous amount of soft creamy bokeh that T1.5 gives, the only way to get it is on a prime. Primes are also much smaller and make the camera lighter. So if you're shooting handheld and you're shooting single camera, so there's no other cameras to get in the way of your shot, then a prime is definitely going to give you better quality and a smaller, lighter camera to operate. Yes, changing lenses can take some time, especially with more complex rigs, but you can also shoot a whole movie on a single lens, as many films have, to keep a consistent perspective and field of view. Primes are also cheaper to start with. The 50mm full frame Sigma Cine Prime is $3,500 versus the $4,000 18 to 35. While you can't use primes to zoom, you can certainly shoot on a wider lens in a higher resolution and crop in post. So if you shoot, say, 8K on the Canon R5C on a 25mm, you can crop in on the sensor to get a 50mm and crop in again to get a 75mm, all without changing lenses, and still have that amazing shallow depth of field and amazing sharpness. If you're shooting on a gimbal, you certainly want to use the lightest, sharpest lens possible, which means a prime. If you're shooting on a Steadicam, where it actually helps to have more weight to add stability to the rig, then a zoom is probably going to work better. It also gives you a chance to change the focal length without having to rebalance the Steadicam. In fact, anytime you're putting the camera in a strange place, like in a crane, on top of a ladder, in the back of a car, where access to the camera is going to be an issue, you're better off using a zoom, which will let you adjust your shot quicker than you are using a prime. That is my look at the difference between Cine zooms and Cine primes, and which one might be right for your project and the way that you make films. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.